Hey folks, thanks for joining today. My name's Mike Tholfsen. I work on the Microsoft Education team, and we're going to be talking about at-home learning and some of the free tools we have for Microsoft Education, and really focusing on some of the inclusive and accessible tools we have. Now, I just have some info on the front page. You can write down my email, send me any email questions, follow me on Twitter, watch my YouTube channel in terms of tips. A lot of the things I'll be talking about today, you might have further questions on, so I encourage you to reach out. At a high level, the way Microsoft thinks about education is we want to allow every person on the planet to achieve more, and we want to help every student on the planet achieve more. And that message is inclusive. It's not 86% of the students, it's not 94.3% of students, it's 100% of students. So embedded in our mission of empowerment is inclusion. And that's how we think about all of these topics with inclusive design, as you'll see, and making sure everyone's brought forward. I put this in the very beginning. I usually put this at the end, but in case you have to leave early, if you need this entire deck, everything you're going to see is captured. There's a PowerPoint, QR code. So if you want to capture that for later, do that. Now, in terms of how we think about this at a high level, we want to enable students to grow their independence. We want to enable educators, and in this case, parents too, to help every learner. And then at a system level, how do we help districts, systems build reputations? How do we help them meet their goals around inclusion, accessibility, and equity? And all these things transition across remote learning, learning from home, and everywhere in between. The way that Microsoft thinks about accessibility broadly, before I get into the details, this slide shows all of the free and built-in tools we have across all of our platforms. Many people aren't really aware of the details. They might think of accessibility just meaning visual impairments or deaf and hard of hearing. It turns out there's a broad range. And this link in the lower right, this sway that's been put together, has documentation of all these great inclusive features by these different categories. So if you want to dig in and really understand what you probably already have access to at home and for free, check out this, because there's probably a lot of capabilities here you weren't aware of. Now, when I talk about Microsoft learning tools, we're going to be talking in the framework of the inclusive classroom. And I say reading, writing, math, and communication. And those are the four categories that I'll be showing today and demoing. And these categories, we use the principles of inclusive design. So we might design so it works really well for a student with dyslexia, but it's going to help all students with reading. And that could be English language learners, could be someone with visual impairments, ADHD, writing and dysgraphia. And it can help all sorts of students. And that's how we think about this across the board. The other thing is I put this up front because as you're watching these demos, and I'm about to go pretty deep into the demos, you'll probably be thinking, whoa, Mike went too fast. He clicked this button. Like, I'm not sure how to do this, or how would I share this with my friends and neighbors? Everything I'm going to show is captured in free web-based interactive guides. And these are in the deck. You can take a photo of this slide. These are shareable and walk you through each of the capabilities I'll be showing. And I've even made a whole set of quick tip videos. So 2 to 3 minute little videos. These are very shareable, and you can practice these things on your own. So don't worry if you get left behind. If I move too fast on something, it's all captured. So to start out, we're going to go to reading. Reading is probably the most important. It's the skill that unlocks the rest of life in terms of curriculum and accessing content. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show a demo of something that we call the Immersive Reader. So I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to be in the web. And I'm here in plain old Microsoft Word. This is free. It's in the web. It's available for anyone to use at home, whether you have an Office 365 school account, whether you have a consumer account, it's in Word for the web. So I'm going to go to the View tab on Word, and I'm going to launch this tool called the Immersive Reader. Now, the Immersive Reader is something that was inclusively designed initially. We said, let's take the latest science and research around dyslexia and focus inclusively on reading and helping students with dyslexia. We took those tools, we took those capabilities, and we built them now into Word. And it's something called the Immersive Reader. So I'll click the Immersive Reader button right here, and this is a plain Word document, and I'll talk through what we're going to see. Now, first off, you can see we reduce distractions on the page, and we call this focus mode. At the bottom, there's a play button, and I'm going to click play.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography.
So we have word and line highlighting, and we have read aloud. And that's not a new technique, but this is now built into Word. It's built in, mainstream, non-stigmatizing, and free. I can open up the speed, so change it and make it read faster, make it read slower. I can choose the male voice or the female voice really easily. In the upper right, I'm going to click for text preferences. So we know there's something called visual crowding. Many students with dyslexia experience visual crowding. Many other students experience visual crowding. And if you increase spacing, there's some science that says for some students that can help with visual crowding. So I turn on this switch and we increase line, letter, and word spacing. I can change the background color really easily. So in this case, I'm choosing a different color background. Some students have challenges reading on a white or a black background only, so there are many options to choose from. And we can also change the font. There's a couple of fonts that are designed for younger readers. Turns out Comic Sans, which a lot of people make fun of, Comic Sans was designed for young readers. If you look at the way the G's are drawn and the A's are drawn, that's the way that students are taught to write those letters in many cases. And some students prefer certain fonts. And I can make the text much bigger. So I'm scrolling in the upper right, and you can see there it made the words much bigger. Maybe I have a vision impairment. Maybe I'm a non-native speaker. Maybe I'm an early reader and want to practice my sight words and just see a couple of words at a time, or even short line mode. Now I can go back here and I'm going to click on options for grammar at the top. And you'll see there's some options here, syllables. So many students are taught, students with dyslexia, early readers, someone learning the language, you clap your hands and you go syllables. Many teachers do that. And they teach students to break words into syllables. Well, if I click here, using our Azure Cloud Services, we have natural language processing, and you can see it broke all the words into syllables with a single click over here. I can highlight the nouns, these parts of speech on the page. So now I can see the nouns. If I turn on verbs, it highlights these, or adjectives, or adverbs. And I can customize the colors. Maybe the nouns are purple. Maybe I have challenges seeing red and I want to use a different color. So it's very easy to customize the colors on the page for the parts of speech. And I can even show labels. So maybe I have challenges at distinguishing any color. These are visual indicating marks that are here. And I can choose, again, some of these, all of these, none of these. It's personalized, and that's the whole point here. Now, the last thing I'll show, I'll make the background blue on this one. I'm going to go to reading preferences. And what we have here is the ability to focus your line. So I click line focus. This is like a reading ruler. Students with dyslexia, ADHD, students with cerebral palsy, this helps focus my eyes. Some students with autism prefer reading like this. And I can click on the arrows on the left and right and scroll this, so it's like moving that little piece of paper down the screen, or almost like finger reading. And I hit play and it'll read it out loud.
Glaciers or rivers. Landforms are sometimes called physical features.
And I can choose 3 lines or 5 lines. It's very easy to customize. The other thing I have is a picture dictionary, so I can click on a word here and see a picture and then a little read aloud.
Earths.
Or geography.
Geography.
So you have a picture.
Mountains.
And even more powerful is translation. So on reading preferences, again, using our Azure Cognitive Services, I can translate in over 70 languages. And so in this case, I'll choose Spanish and I have it on by word. And I can go back here and click on mountains.
Montañas.
And I can see the English word.
Rivers.
The Spanish word.
Ríos.
And if I go back to the reading preferences, I can choose to translate the entire document. And now when I hit read aloud.
El estudio de las formas terrestres de la Tierra se llama geografía física.
And I can slow this down if it's too fast for me and hit read again.
Física. Las formas de tierra pueden ser montañas y...
So everything here is built right into the Immersive Reader, which again is in Word. If I want to translate to a different language, it's just that easy. If I'm in French, I can do the exact same thing and read that out loud.
L'étude des reliefs terrestres de la Terre s'appelle la géo...
So this is very powerful in terms of free technology that's built right in as this Immersive Reader. So the Immersive Reader is not only in Word, it's in Teams, it's in OneNote, It's in the Edge browser. It's in Office Lens, Forms. It's in many different places. So I'm in the free Edge browser that's based on Chromium, and I've got a web page here. So let's say I want to select some text. Where's some text here? New SEL features in Microsoft Education. I'm going to select a chunk of text, and what I'm going to do is right-click in the Edge browser and choose Open in Immersive Reader. And look at this. We've got all that text right here in Immersive Reader. Hold on one second. My page, going to page refresh. Let me select that text again right here, and we'll open that in Immersive Reader. Choose some text preferences. Having some challenges loading that, but the full Immersive Reader works in the Edge browser as well, and I can even select any text on a page and just read that out loud. So if I hit read aloud from here, it'll just read that out loud.
Adding support for teachers, students, and...
So you have a whole set of these Immersive Reader capabilities built into the browser so you can access any content you want to. Now I'm going to go back here really quick. We have older students who are using this, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. We have 5- and 6-year-olds using this, kindergartners, first graders, practicing sight words. This is a piece of feedback from a parent and an educator. You can see the impact that the Immersive Reader has been having. I'll leave this up just for a second. So if you have a student at home with any sort of reading challenges, or you just have a student that needs a little more assistance, the Immersive Reader is fully available. And it's also available in cognitive services, so it's not just Microsoft products. We've recently rolled this out in Azure, so other apps out there like the Canvas Learning Management System has integrated the Immersive Reader. That's one of the popular LMSs in the world. All sorts of other apps. Code.org recently announced Immersive Reader integration. Wakelet, ThingLink, PowerSchool, a lot of these very popular apps are also integrating the Immersive Reader. And so this is something that can be done by any EdTech app right now. Like I mentioned, it's in the Edge browser. It's also in Office Lens. This is a free app, iOS or Android. Your assignment for today is download the Office Lens app and try this out. You can take a picture of anything you want, and you can send it to Immersive Reader. So a picture of a book, I hit done, send to Immersive Reader. Now everything you just saw can work. So read aloud.
Sarah Cynthia Sylvia Stout. Would not take the garbage out.
I can change the way the page looks. All of those same capabilities of the Immersive Reader that you just saw work on an iPhone, iPad, Android. Again, take a photo of any page of a book at home, and this fully works, and it's available today. You can even translate the picture of your book just like this, and then read it out loud.
Jamones. Y aunque su papá gritaba y gritaba, ella simplemente no
So that's your assignment. Go get Office Lens, try out the Immersive Reader. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention is we've got lots of demo videos. Like I said before, we have a website here that's a page fully dedicated to the deep dive in Immersive Reader, the research behind it, all the apps and platforms, all Microsoft products that's available. The next up is writing. So writing is another important one. It often goes hand in hand with reading. I'm going to show a few capabilities. This is from a study with a school for dyslexic children that we worked with. Dyslexia and dysgraphia often go hand in hand, and many students with dyslexia really hate writing. And just some examples of what that might look like. This is a 11-year-old girl, dyslexia, dysgraphia, trying to write a story with a pencil or a pen, which can be very difficult. And then this using speech to text and the Immersive Reader combined, she was able to produce this in 20, 30 minutes independently on her own. This is a 7th grade boy, severely dyslexic and dysgraphic. The left-hand side is a piece of paper where he was trying to write a story. And the right-hand side is using dictate that I'm going to show here in just a minute. So these have really powerful effects when being used, and especially during remote learning and parents at home, you have access to these tools right now. So we're going to go back into our good friend Word over here. And you might not know this, but on the Home tab, this is Word for the web. Again, this is free at office.com or outlook.com. Way over on the right, you'll see a dictate button. And this is high grade speech to text. This is, I would say cutting edge, state of the art. So if I turn on dictate down at the bottom, here I am dictating into Microsoft Word, period. Our dictation is pretty amazing these days, and it's much better than you tried out back in 1995. I promise you that. So anyways, that's fully baked in, and we support it in over 20 languages. You can change the language right down here. We've got many languages. We have new voice commands, so you can do things like bold and underline and go backwards and forwards. That's all built in, not only to Word, it's in PowerPoint. So if you go to PowerPoint for the web on the Home tab, there's a dictate button. If you go into Word for desktop, there's a dictate button. Even in PowerPoint, just to show briefly, in PowerPoint itself, on the Home tab, my PowerPoint desktop here, there's a dictate button. It's in Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, OneNote. Built-in, mainstream, non-stigmatizing. It's already all there and available. You just might not have known it. And hopefully now you do. The other thing that we've done is we have significantly updated your good friend, the spell checker. So spell check hasn't got a lot of love in the last 20 plus years. You might have not thought about your spell checker deeply since 1996, maybe with Word 6.0. Well, spell checker's got a big facelift and brain lift, because if you go to the review tab, there's no more spell check button. There's a thing called editor, and I'm going to click editor here. This is like next generation AI infused spell checking, and this can help students with dysgraphia, students with dyslexia. It can help all sorts mainstream students. It can help me. It can help you. I know all sorts of people this benefits. Anyone who writes. And what it does is you have spelling and grammar. And again, this is nice. It organizes everything on the right. Here's my editor score. I have some stuff I can fix up. So I can go here and click on a word and update it just like a normal spell checking word. But I get down here and I have things, new refinements, formality. I've got vocabulary, clarity. So if I go to formality here, instead of saying going bananas, maybe I should say go wild. Things like inclusiveness. I probably shouldn't be saying stewardesses anymore. Might want to say flight attendants. And clarity, if you're not being clear in your writing. Instead of saying headhunting, maybe you should say recruiting. And there's different perspectives. And we have other things like similarity checking and text prediction, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So text prediction or word prediction. At the bottom, you have stats on things like readability, distinct words. So all sorts of new capabilities that are built into editor. We even have read aloud built into editor. So if I have a ... here and I click read aloud,
repeal,
it'll read that word out loud, which is really handy. So these are capabilities that help with writing, that are inclusively designed, that help all students with writing, but especially students that have reading challenges. And this is, again, rolled out in Word for the web. It's already there under the review tab where spell checker used to be. There's editor. And you can even set settings. So if you want to turn on extra settings for grammar, I've turned on everything here, but you can turn on more things about clarity and conciseness, jargon, passive voice. So you can really choose how you want to enable different parts of editor. The last thing I'll show is word prediction, which is also quite popular with students with writing challenges. So if you open up settings in Windows, I have settings I can look for. And I'm going to go for text suggestions, which is word prediction. That's like on your phone when you're typing and it suggests little words above. So in this case, I've turned it off here. I'll turn it on. So show text suggestions as I type on the hardware keyboard. Now, anywhere I type in Windows, I'll pull up, maybe I'll pull up Notepad. It's a good one. I can do it in Word desktop. I can do it in Notepad, do it wherever. See how it puts up probably product problem. So it suggests any words as I'm typing. SU, it suggests a couple words. This is hugely helpful because now this is just built into Windows. It'll work in Word, in PowerPoint, in Outlook, on Notepad. Anywhere you're typing in Windows, this little word prediction will help. So that's something, again, that a lot of people didn't know about that's built into Windows. But if you're at home, if you have Windows 10, you can turn on word prediction. And that works in over 75 languages of Windows. So it's not just English that this works in, it works across the board. So those are three quick things I showed: dictation, editor, and word prediction. Here's a great quote from an educator who's been working with some of these tools and students who have challenges with writing. And again, I'll just let people read this for a second, but you can see the impact. And I'll stop briefly. Just Denise, were there any questions that you wanted to share that I could help answer that were in the chat?
Yeah, can I just do a few?
You
may have answered them. One is, when can we expect Polish language in dictate feature?
Polish. That's a good question. I think I have to check the latest. I think we're getting closer to Polish. That's usually higher on the list of some of the languages we worked on. I have to double check, but I don't have a date to share if it's not already in preview, but I know it's probably higher up on the list.
Great. Voice commands, are they available in the desktop versions too?
Not yet, but they're coming to the desktop version very soon. It rolled out in web first, but it's coming to desktop probably, I'm going to guess, in the next couple of months if you're an Office 365 subscriber. And if you want to see a demo of some of those voice commands, that YouTube channel I put in the beginning, I've got a recent demo of all the voice commands in Word for the web.
Great. I'll share those links again.
Okay. Okay, moving on to math. And this one's interesting because there's usually not a lot of math inclusive and accessible tools out there because A, it's hard and complicated, and B, it's usually expensive. Good news here is everything I'm going to show is free, and it's built into one of my favorite apps, which is OneNote. So I'm here in OneNote for Windows 10, and the math tools I'm about to show work in OneNote for Windows 10. They work in OneNote for the web, so the web version of OneNote, and they'll be coming to iPad version of OneNote in just a couple of months. They're not quite an iPad, but they're coming. So I've got a math equation here, and I'll select it just like this. This also works for typed math, so if you don't have inking, don't worry. This will work for typed out math just like this, but I like to show the demo with ink because it's more fun, but you don't need to have this, the digital ink. Go to the insert menu, and over on the right, what we have is we're going to have a math button. And so right here, there's a math button, and I'm going to click it. So first off, we will convert that equation into actual math. That's kind of nice. But I'm going to select an action here, and I'll say graph both sides in 2D, and I'll actually graph this. And I can explore the graph as I'm moving down, and you can see the XY axis updating. I can insert on the page. So that's kind of nice. I can have a little graph on my page. Now, the other thing you can do, though, is solve these things. So in this case, I'll say solve for X, and it'll actually solve the equation. So think about doing math at home independently. Maybe the parents can't help, but this is the really powerful part, showing steps. So if I need to show steps, I can choose this, and it actually has the steps right here. So now I have all the steps for that math equation worked out. Imagine I experience visual crowding, though, or I have dyslexia or dyscalculia. Might be hard to work together with the letters and the words and the numbers. Well, there's this little Immersive Reader icon right here. And if I click that, it's going to take that full math equation into the Immersive Reader. And now all those things that I showed before, I can do that right here. I can do line focus. I can translate. Maybe you want to have a story problem. I'm going to translate that into Spanish and all the things that we did before in the Immersive Reader. But the Immersive Reader also works with equations. And so I can do read aloud on an equation.
5x al cuadrado más 3x menos 7 igual a 0.
So everything we just did is supported in the Immersive Reader, and it supports all sorts of equations. It supports more complex equations, not simple ones. It supports algebra, it supports trigonometry, calculus. That's all built in. The last thing I'll show is the practice quiz. So I'll select this again. I'll go to the insert menu and hit math. In this case, I'll say select action. I'm going to solve for X again. But now under the show the steps, there's this button, generate practice quiz. So imagine I'm a student at home. I want to get more practice on the same type of problem. This will help me generate my own problems. And so when I click generate practice quiz, it's going to ask me how many questions I want. And I can choose more than 3. I'll just leave it at 3. I'll say generate a quiz. So what it's going to do is it will take the equation up here and 5x squared plus 3x minus 7, and it automatically generates a Microsoft form right here on my page as a student. And these are new questions that are similar but different to the original question. So as a student now, I'm going to go and answer these really quick. I'm just going to guess some answers, and I'll click submit. But because this is a form on my own OneNote, I can view the results. So I guessed one right, but it actually tells me which problems I got right, which I got wrong. I can resolve them. I can make more quizzes. This is independent and inclusive math practice at home. It's incredibly powerful. And this is built right in to OneNote. So that is the math demo. The last one I'm going to show is student and parent communication and educator communication. Now, first off, I'm in PowerPoint. I'm going to turn on right here at the bottom. I can turn on captions. I'm starting subtitles, and I'll be captioning this in Spanish. So you can see along the bottom, it is now real-time captioning as I'm talking in Spanish. And we support over 70 languages that I can translate into. And I'll show PowerPoint Live in a second that's going to take this to a whole new level. But we also have something called Presenter Coach that will listen to you present and give you feedback. So if you're a student at home, you can turn on Presenter Coach. We don't have time to show it today. But in PowerPoint Web, Presenter Coach listens to your student or you practice and gives you real-time feedback. If you're saying or like too many times, if you're presenting too fast or talking too slow, if you're reading from the slide, Presenter Coach will give you that feedback and give you a little report when you're done, which is quite cool. I've used it myself. I need to slow down when I present is the main feedback that I've gotten. Get a little speedometer there. Now, the one that I want to show that's brand new, and I'm going to show a little demo video. It's pretty incredible, and the best way to experience it is to actually see it in action. It's called PowerPoint Live. Imagine in remote learning, if you're presenting or talking with other people who don't speak the same language as you or are deaf and hard of hearing, you want PowerPoint to be able to connect and caption in the language you choose, where you choose on what device. And what does that mean exactly? Well, I'm just going to show this video. It's just a minute-long video, but it's going to demonstrate PowerPoint Live. And this is available today already in PowerPoint Web, so you can go try this as soon as we're done today. And I'm going to click play and just have a watch. So I'm going to switch to the slideshow tab right here, and there's this new button, Present Live. And by the way, I can present either to people in my organization or school district, just for those folks, or I can choose anyone and make this available to anyone in the world. And I'll click Present Live to start. Now this is the join screen, and what I can do is up in the right, there's a PowerPoint link, and this is the join link I can give to anyone. There's also a QR code, so if you're in a Teams meeting, people can just hold their device up and join into the presentation automatically. Now you can see here the numbers of people who have joined is going up, and we'll get going. Okay, now I'm in PowerPoint for the web, and my live session is started. Also note that the link to follow along is right here up at the top where I'm highlighting. So first off, we can have students or participants join this session and choose their own captions and their language. That means we could have multiple people join and each person chooses one of 67 languages and it captions to them in real time on their device. And as the teacher or the presenter, when I move my slide, the participant slides moves, but the captions come through in their own language. So here I have someone with English, with Chinese, and another device with Spanish. So as I'm talking, it's captioning to them in the language they choose. The bottom, I hover. So that's a quick demo of PowerPoint Live, and you can see it's pretty incredible. And I've used it before, and it can engage parents, it can engage educators or people that are part of that presentation. And again, it works in your language on your device, and it can work on an iPhone, iPad, browser, wherever. And this is already free and available today. So I'm going to wrap up. I'm just going to skip ahead to the sort of the wrap up slide and some resources. So the way we think about this is no one should have to ask for access. I like to say built-in, mainstream, non-stigmatizing, and free. And all these capabilities are available today for students at home, students at school. If you're in hybrid learning, it might be a mix. But everything today, I encourage you, take a look at this deck. It's public. You can look at the QR code there. feel free to send me a mail, tweet out at me on Twitter. My handle is below. I'm very active on Twitter. And the other thing is these interactive guides. Like I said, everything today is captured in these interactive guides. You can try it out. You can click through them, share it with your teachers. If your school doesn't know about these, share them with other family members who might think they're interesting, but they're fully available today to use. And then lastly, everything I've shown and more I've documented with quick tip videos on YouTube. So lots of inclusive classroom and accessibility, little 1 to 2 minute videos to see exactly how some of these features work. Other than that, I'll take a last couple of questions if we have time. So Denise, anything else on the list?
There are lots of questions, and I just wanted to let everyone know I published your email address and put the links and asked if I didn't get to them, that they email you.
Okay.
They do. There is a question about the guides. They don't seem to be working. There is a link that is broken. So
the links that I pasted are broken?
Yeah, I'll post the resource link for Microsoft Education all up, and then get that for you.
Okay.
And then just a lot of great comments about this is really incredible. We'll pass on to teachers and work with them. How does PowerPoint Live work within Teams? I don't think you addressed this. And if you need to give an answer, where would you send people for?
Well, PowerPoint Live doesn't have anything to do with Teams in the sense of you can use it on your own, like you can just use it in PowerPoint. You could share your PowerPoint in Teams, but really all someone needs is that join code that I showed, and it will pull up that little link, the little link that gets generated, and they just need a browser. So yeah, you could do it in Teams, but Teams is not required, I guess is what I would say.
Okay, cool. I've gotten everything else here.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Great. Well, feel free to reach out and ask questions if you have any, and hopefully this was really helpful information for people.